Okay, I think I caught that. Do you want to start again, or do you
No,
want to? I should have cleaned my glasses. Oh no!
This is
Well,
reality.
it's too late. You're gonna have to just look at it through this hazy hue now.
I'm not worried I can see, but I'm worried that my glasses are going to look smeary to the people who are watching. But this is the reality of our lives now. We don't go out, we don't see people, we don't care how we look.
No.
We've both really stopped making an effort.
I kind of wanted you to sort of spring in and say hello to everybody for us today.
Hello to everybody for us.
Only because somebody made a little jibe about, like, I'm only watching to see when eventually Chris says hello first.
Well,
like,
I
that's
thought
never
that was
going to
your
happen.
job. I thought you were sort of lead anchor.
I'm lead anchor, am
Yeah.
I? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You've been watching a lot of The Morning Show, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, I haven't been watching it. I've sort of picked up on the plot in the background. But hello, it's Chris and Ellie here. Hi, Taz. It is March 28th. Now,
Yes.
so we are on day 8 of lockdown, and we did not plan this and we clashed, so apologies to anybody who's got an eye for this sort of thing.
Loud. Colour-wise.
We don't think about this much before we do it, so sorry guys. That's a bit of a lie. I actually have started writing a little notebook, but they'll say like beautiful things like Dyson G-Tech body hair. Things that I need to tell you about.
I don't know what you're doing with that Hoover.
That's because you don't do the hoovering.
True.
So hello, neither do I.
We get several people in daily. It's really crimping our social distancing. Not true. No one's been in.
Nobody's been in. No, we've been very good. Nobody's been in.
Lonely.
Nobody's been out other than Chris to walk Lucy. Today was actually bad-ish weather. We've had really glorious sunny weather for the last week, so I think that's been making it quite tricky for people to not go out. But today was overcast and cold. So did that help with not being too many old persons in the woods today?
I still ran into people in the woods.
Boo.
I don't like bumping into people.
You don't like bumping into people anyway.
And then Lucy's dead friendly, and I have to call her back, and she ignores me. It's a whole thing.
I know. Well, I think we covered the whole thing yesterday.
Yeah,
like Lucy is
no need to.
just a massive pile of disrespect. But she, like, if any of you actually have met Lucy, she is a point of pure goodness in the universe, and she is to be nothing but praised. But she is quite naughty when it comes. She doesn't listen, but she means well.
We assume. We have literally no way of knowing that.
No way of knowing her agenda, but she seems happy and nice, so let's go with that. So hello, yes. So yesterday, we both babbled at you at quite some length and ran over. So apologies, because it did actually cut us off. I found out why that was. So we've got to aim to try and keep this at or below 31 minutes, because at 32-ish, we hit 4 gigs. And then this goes, no, new video.
I mean, we sort of decided to try and do that anyway, just because we didn't want to test people's patience too much. Yeah, so now it's anxiety, isn't it?
So for apologies for those who were watching yesterday and it cut off. I did put the second little bit, which was about 12 seconds worth, just going, maximum file size. But so anyway, if that happens again, it's our fault. Sorry, but yeah, when it hits 4 gigs, my phone just goes nope. Sorry if that happens, but we'll try for that not to be the case. So yes, hello. We don't have a huge amount to report about what's going on in the real world today. It was a bit of a strange press conference, would you say? Because neither of us recognised the person who was talking.
No. Started off, it was Boris Johnson every day, and now any old prick. Whoever's free.
Just
go and stand behind a podium, say something.
Did find out later. I don't
Ellie.
actually think. I might have misheard. So I didn't even check who he was. I overheard somebody sort of saying when they were sort of doing the analysis of the day's press conference, he is actually one of the policy directors when it comes to the NHS, apparently.
Yes. And you can take that to the bank. Always trust information that other people have overheard.
Yeah, well, that's basically how this all works now. Because there's a lot of information going on, and very little of it is accurate because most of us don't know, and most of the news sources don't really know either, because this is all new and we don't really know what we're doing. So everybody is just bumbling around making their best guess, I think it's safe to say. But yeah, so we don't have a huge amount to report from that particular press conference because there wasn't a lot of content in it other than repeating stuff that's already been kind of established. Also, cheerfully, there are new protections in place so that businesses don't necessarily have to go under. They can sort of stay afloat a little bit longer because obviously they're aware that certain rules have just, insolvency protocols have changed. It's not very exciting, but it is probably very important to people who are running small businesses. So there's small protections in place. The only thing that I did take from it that I thought was sort of very pertinent to most people is it sounds very boring and very dull, but they have taken out a certain number of protocols and legislations that require a certain amount of time before new products can be released to the market. The reason they have done that is so that companies that weren't previously making certain technology that is now incredibly important can now sort of speed the process of bringing it to market along. So the examples, which is why I was going to talk about G-Tech and Dyson, they have designed I think they might be 3D printable, but very swiftly makeable. What's the proper word for that? They can make them really quickly. Manufacturable. That's the word I'm looking for. Ventilators. So they've got the design. They kind of want to bring them to market as soon as possible so that they can literally be making them within days. The government has put through that legislation so that that's going to be possible. Another company that I think we've got to give sort of a hats off to is Brewdog, who are a brewery, as you'd imagine. They have sort of put their hat into the ring to formulate hand sanitizer so that they can rapidly make and distribute that super swift using all of their existing equipment. Just kind of they've had to sort of think on the fly and create some new stuff and make sure it's safe, but the usual sort of long time guessing, sort of double checking patents and formulas basically are now at the moment. I think they're saying as long as it's safe you can release it, and we'll take it because we need it, and then sort of perhaps it'll be that the patent on that particular thing is pending after it's released rather than they've got to check all that first, just because we need the stuff right now. So there's a bunch of companies doing that sort of stuff, which you've got to say fair play, that's great. Obviously there's money to be made there because it's stuff that we all need quite rapidly, but also you'd have to imagine some nice chaps who just sort of set up a brewery probably weren't thinking, hey, let's make a big buck off hand sanitizer. They've kind of stepped up to the fore. So that's good. It's nice to see that a lot of people are sort of doing a lot of what they can.
No word yet as to whether this legislation will mean that Nintendo can push forward the release of the Bioshock collection on Switch. No reason to believe that will happen. That's just wishful thinking on my part. But it'd be good though, wouldn't it?
Well, I imagine it will be good, but also you don't want to get all the stuff that you're looking forward to now, because if it was supposed to be coming out, it was supposed to be coming out in late May. Oh, May. Right. We might still be in lockdown in May.
20th of May, though.
20th of May, though. How many blinks?
Long time from now. A lot of people are getting very excited about Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I've never played Animal Crossing.
Me either, and it's come out.
Should we start playing Animal Crossing?
People rate it. People have been telling me I should play it, but it feels...
It looks very wholesome, which might be what we need right now.
Yeah, it feels like it might be fun, but also it's like about 40 quid, so I don't know if
I don't want to be spending 40 quid right now.
No, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I'm holding out for Bioshock Infinite. That will be my treat, and I wish my treat was coming sooner. That's all. Because, I'm not going to take a punt on Animal Crossing.
No, 40 quid is a bit much for a punt, because because it's wholesome, as I kind of discovered yesterday with my Sims dilemma, wholesome's not really hitting the spot right now.
No.
I think wholesome, I think maybe because it's dark times, things that are sort of too sweet and nice and lovely maybe feel a little bit empty.
So if anyone can recommend any video games
grim
for Ellie that are grim, violent or sexy, then that's what she's looking for right now.
Way to paraphrase, but yeah, alright. Grim, dark and sexy, or any of the three. I'll take what I can get. I think, maybe wholesomeness and sort of things being too sweet and saccharine maybe aren't really doing it for people right now. So Bioshock, I can see the appeal. I was never very good at Bioshock, but I quite liked the aesthetic of it and thought it was quite creepy and cool. So yeah, 40 quid though. Like 40 quid normally for a game you're looking forward to, that would be kind of like, yeah, oh, like 40 quid's always a bit hefty to spend on a game, but you'd think, oh, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'll get a lot of hours of playtime out of it.
Well, you will get hours of playtime out of it, more than normal. But yeah, it's sort of, I think maybe because everybody's feeling the pinch that you sort of go, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. Do I really need to spend that money? So like little things, I've tried to be donating to little good causes. So for example, Le Pub did a drive this week. We've mentioned Le Pub before, probably our favourite bar in Newport. It was mentioned that because obviously the staff in the local hospital, the Royal Gwent, is sort of the Welsh epicenter of where the COVID-19 crisis is all kicking off. So there's lots of staff working 12 to 18-hour shifts at a time in full protective gear. The weather has been hot, so one of the things that a staff member put out onto social media was we could really do with drinks, because we're not getting breaks to sort of pop to the sort of canteen, or even really to pop to the sort of can machine or anything. We could do with drinks, we could do with like sugary snacks, things to get us through, because it's really hot and really long hours. So Le Pub did a drive that you could just donate. They said give a quid or whatever you can, buy a can of drink for somebody on the front line, and they got a whole bunch of pallets together. So I put in a £5 for that. When people have directly done stuff like pub quizzes or sort of comedy nights, I've sort of made a point of like, if I'm benefiting from somebody working, I would try to throw them at least the price of a drink, price of a coffee. But 40 quid, that's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? So like, can I justify that? I don't think I can justify that.
Also, Nintendo being a big corporation, much as I love them, they seem to be one of the better big corporations, as far as I'm aware. I don't know of any particular evil they've done, but at this time, as my friend Steph was pointing out to me earlier, they wanted to order a pizza, and Domino's have apparently got a deal on at the moment, which is great, good for them. But Steph was saying, no, I'm going to support my local pizza place, and I think it is a time, if you can, to support
small
local
businesses will be struggling.
or independent traders, individuals, rather than the big companies at the moment.
Well, big companies, everybody is going to struggle, but actually takeaway companies are probably going to do fine. They're going to do great out of this. But I think like if you can support small local businesses, they are going to be the ones that haven't got a big nest egg set aside, maybe don't spend a huge amount of money on insurance because they sort of cover what they need to cover on a day-to-day basis. They probably don't have business interruption for up to things like 3 months minimum. Like we didn't have that at the escape rooms. There's lots of people in that boat. So if you can do something, if you're going to order a takeaway anyway, maybe have a little look and see who's delivering, who's local and small, and try to go there. But you do you, like whatever you need. Like if you really want those like Domino's Marmite rolls, which I wouldn't blame you, go for it. But yeah, just if you're sort of choosing between one or the other, then maybe think about where you're spending your money at the moment.
I would blame you if you wanted Domino's
Dominite
Marmite rolls.
Dominite rolls.
I would blame you for wanting anything with Marmite. Don't support Marmite right now. They're the worst company.
This guy's a hater. He hates on Marmite.
If one company could go under from all this, that's a terrible thing to say.
What are you depriving the world of Marmite for? You big curmudgeonly Marmite hating bigot.
To lose their jobs, but if they've been working, I'm sure the lobbyists at Big Marmite, I'm sure they'll be okay.
Big Marmite.
Yeah. I bet they fund the Tory party.
How dare you!
I would not be at all
I'm going to have to look into Marmite now.
There are strong links between Marmite and the Tory party.
I would still eat it. It is that good.
Yeah. Horrible black Tory paste.
What about if you find out that they're like lovely Green Party supporters? You're still not going to eat it,
no,
you hypocrite.
Even if they're wonderful Green Party people, their paste still tastes of Tories.
It's not a paste.
They make a, what is it?
It's a spread.
Smear.
It's not a paste.
A smear.
A smear.
They make a smear that tastes of conservative values.
Right. Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's wrong.
No, right. But it does mean it's Tory.
No, you don't like lots of things that aren't Tory.
No, but Marmite is particularly bad.
Small-minded hater, this one. I stand by it. Anyway,
Just
right.
small-minded. Just call me thick. I'll take it. Right. What are we talking about?
You thick.
You thick.
Right, so yeah, there's a couple of things that we want to talk about that we didn't get round to yesterday. So the first and most important one, I think, needs to be mentioned. Because everybody in the country, and most of the world, but everybody in the country certainly is on lockdown right now. And everybody is somewhere around the week in. Some people have been doing it for longer, but everybody's kind of had to do it for at least a week. Except idiots who are ignoring the rules. I think I have noticed that probably about 80% of people have delved into the Tiger King on Netflix by now. And if you haven't...
Get on it.
You have to. It's bonkers. So for those of you who don't know, it's sort of kind of premised as a true crime documentary. But a lot of it is sort of preamble to the crime, and you don't really know the details of what's happened. It's just sort of alluded to. But it all centres around this dude called Joe Exotic, not his real name, as you might imagine, who runs a wildlife park in Oklahoma. Now, to call it a wildlife park is generous. Essentially, he's breeding lots of tigers and ligers and mountain lions and big cats, and letting people pet cubs and have their pictures taken with them. And it's all a bit grim, really. It doesn't have a huge amount of sort of, like, conservation is not at the forefront of what he's up to, but he's brilliant. He is absolutely the most watchable character I've seen on telly in a long time. Oh, he's awful. Yeah. I hate him.
To be clear.
To be fair, actually, there are quite a lot of people in this, and I don't think I genuinely have watched any programme, reality TV, Tory party conferences, where I have said the word dickhead so many times at the telly with rage as I have watching this.
The daily briefings every day, and she's seen all of Game of Thrones.
I've never called anyone a dickhead in Game of Thrones. He's a Game of Thrones hater as well.
I'm not a Game
He's
of
all
Thrones
above it
hater.
because yeah, he is.
I don't hate Game of Thrones. I'm just ignorant of it.
So why do you assume I call them all dickheads then?
I don't know. Well, don't they all murder each other?
Yeah, but it's very entertaining.
Feels like dickhead behaviour.
There's some to be honest, I've dropped C-bombs on so many.
I don't want to sound judgy, but I've not murdered anyone, and I don't think anyone should murder anyone. I'm sorry if that's a rash statement. I'm sorry if you're pro-murder and that's your vibe. Murder and Marmite. I'm sorry if that's the platform for if that's the hill you're willing to die on.
The heel.
The hill you're willing to die on. You know, shove Marmite into people's face until they suffocate to death.
Death by Marmite. Well, if lockdown turns me and eventually we do turn on each other, I now know the method by which I will kill you.
Right, well, we can't get to the shops, so you can't get enough Marmite to kill me. I've already got some. No,
I've got a squeezy tube. I bet I could... Death by Marmite squeezy tube.
Bin that.
Bin that. You haven't been that.
I have. I washed it out. It's gone in the recycling.
No, he hasn't. He's lying to you. Why are you always lying, bro?
No.
Why are you always lying? Tiger King! Anyway, right, oh God. This is how it's going to be from now on. Like I said, descending into madness. But, right, so basically, he's a dick, but he's fascinating. And he, releases his own music, which is definitely not him singing. Can't be. I refuse to believe it's him, because it sounds quite good. Proper country music, where it's like, I saw a tiger! And it's like, no, what are you doing, mate? But it's fascinating.
He's a polygamist, isn't he?
He's a polygamist. He's got a bit of a part. He's probably it spans quite a few years, but he has a habit of picking up men that are much younger than him and marrying a few of them at a time. I've got nothing against polygamy. I've got nothing against age differences. But if you're putting all of these things,
that she really doesn't like.
If you're putting all of these things together,
real homophobe, aren't you?
I think that's a paraphrase, isn't it?
She's not a homophobe.
I'm not a homophobe. But yeah, no, this dude, basically, he's fascinating. There's so many things. So I want to give spoilers, but there's so much happening. But there's lots of other people in it.
Yes.
And they're all so awful, but for different reasons.
Yeah, there are a number of larger-than-life characters in this. It's not...
That's such a polite way of putting it. But yeah, it's mainly around lots of people who keep big cats, and they're all sort of competing to be it's a pissing contest mainly.
If you imagine the sort of person that feels the need to own a tiger, when you can just have cats.
Yeah. Oh, bless, that was something you kept going like, what's wrong with just having cats? They're great. Look at them. Great. They're great.
We've got 4 cats.
We do. Oh, so for those of you who don't know,
one of them's over there.
There's only one in eyesight at the moment, which is low.
He's all sleeping. He's so cute.
So I had 2 cats and Lucy. Lucy's the dog, she's the Labrador. I think you might have seen a little bit of her head at one point, but that's about it. And then Chris moved in to this house. So a couple of times I've also noticed I've mentioned it as my house. It's obviously our house, so sorry, Chris, it is your house. But yeah, I think it's just habit. But I had 2 cats already and the dog. And then when we were sort of talking about you moving in, I sort of in passing sort of said something at one point of like, oh, well, when you move in, I hope that the pets feel like yours as well. Like, I hope you don't feel like you're inheriting my pets and that they're still mine. In fact, or maybe we should get like a cat together. And then this one just went, can we? And I've never seen such a sweet look of innocent joy and optimism. And I was like, well, yeah, that's happening. And then we got 2.
Because they're good, right?
They are good.
2 little cats.
2 little kittens.
One of them's a dickhead.
Yeah.
One of them's the soppiest cat you've ever seen.
Yeah. They're great, but Jesus Christ. But yeah, they are.
One of them picks on the dog for attention.
Yeah. Poor Lucy.
He is good, though.
Yeah, well, he's learned that I will ignore him when he's being a dick to me, but I won't ignore him when he's being a dick to Lucy. So when he wants me to feed him and it's like 4:30 in the morning, he'll sort of claw me in the face for a bit and I'm just like, oh, bugger off. And then he like, right. So then he just like, Lucy doesn't like to have her paws touched. So he just goes, right, come here, Lucy. And then Lucy's just going, oh, sorry, and jumps off the bed and she's all whining and crying and I'm like, oh, you dickhead. And then I feed him. So this is how this is going.
But, where am I during all this? Oh, I'm asleep. And the Tiger King.
Tiger King,
I was thinking about this, right? Because, I don't actually... it's not a spoiler, because this is in the first episode. We find out, because this is part of the intrigue of the show. We've just talked about a guy owning tigers, but he's actually also in prison for conspiracy to murder. And that's revealed in the first episode, so that's not a spoiler, so...
Yeah, it's very early. I think it's even in the description if you look at it.
How did he get there? That's kind of the show.
Yeah.
But he's in prison for conspiracy to murder. And I was thinking about this because obviously everyone's watching Netflix right now. We're all at home. Everyone's talking about the Tiger King. I'm sure it's getting incredible ratings. And this guy's got quite the ego on him. And if anyone's familiar with Serial, the massively successful podcast.
Oh, it's really good.
Where, if you don't know, a journalist goes back and looks at a kind of a case, a murder case, to see if the person who was convicted really did it, and there was a lot of public outcry and a lot of people calling for the case to be reopened.
Very, very good podcast. Slightly disappointing sort of conclusion, I found, but that's without saying what it was.
But that's by the by. But Joe Exotic, the star of The Tiger King, I'm sure he's in prison now. I'm sure if he's finding out how many people... If it gets back to him how many people are watching his documentary right now, or the documentary about him, he must be thinking, oh, brilliant, everyone's going to... Because he's such an egotist. He'll be thinking, everyone's going to be like, back. They'll be calling for the case to be reopened.
Everyone's like, yeah, he did
anyone who watches
I'm sure
they'll
he
be
did.
like,
he's a knob.
Either he did it, or...
Or he should have been in prison anyway.
He should be locked up for something. If it wasn't this, he should be locked up for something. He's a scumbag.
There's some terrible things, like, because actually, obviously, we are totally soppy about animals anyway. And some of the scenes that you sort of see with just sort of people like manhandling very newborn baby tiger cubs, and you're just like, leave them alone, stop it. And yes, so I find, like, basically, mainly I'm shouting dickheads at all of them, because actually there's several of them who run wildlife parks, and they're all really mistreating their animals, and it's grim. And a couple of times you notice people maybe have like fingers or hands or legs missing, and you're sort of thinking to yourself, I kind of hope a tiger did that, because you're being absolute pricks. I won't tell you if they did. You'll find out. Watch it and find out. But yeah, it's fascinating. And yeah, you can sort of... I think there's only like 8 episodes. They're all about sort of 45 to an hour long. They're sort of good chunks of time. We've ploughed through it in like the last week, but it's fascinating. There's so much stuff that I want to deconstruct. But yeah, watch it. Because everybody else is, and people are going to be talking about, this is going to be like Game of Thrones, but everybody's watched it in a week on Netflix. But we're not having water cooler moments, so if things are cropping up on social media everywhere. But we've talked about Tiger King quite a bit now.
I've got something else, because we're coming up to 25 minutes now. I've got something else that I really want to talk about. It's going to be a special report.
Oh, he's getting up some footage. They can't see that yet.
No, I know. There you go.
Oh, God. He got that ready.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Is that what's going to happen now?
I've added production values.
I didn't know that was going to happen.
Finally, some production values on the vlog. That's introducing my wrestling special report. Because, as you may know, most sport has stopped since the corona thing. But there is still room in the world for sports entertainment, the predetermined sport of wrestling, and that has still been ongoing. But they can't have an audience in.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by how this goes, because you've been watching it. But the world of wrestling was quite foreign to me before we started dating. And you're quite a big wrestling fan. So I was like, one night I was like, I'm going to give this a go. And to be honest, I find it quite entertaining. I get a bit more absorbed in the sort of stories, so I kind of have to give a damn. And it strikes me as storytelling.
It is storytelling. It's kind of live theatre, and a lot of it feeds off the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
So suddenly it's playing out.
So they're doing it in empty, not in empty stadiums.
Empty
that would be
arenas,
extra weird. But they kind of do it in small, empty rooms.
And so WWE have largely been doing it in their own kind of performance centre training facility. AEW is the other big company. They've been doing it in their own small facility. They did it in an arena. In fact, if you want to see the best example of what has happened so far in an empty arena, not this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, but last week's, which you can get on ITV Hub, which if you don't have that already, you can download it for free. Check this out, because it's just quite an interesting watch if you have any passing interest in wrestling. But what I really want to plug, because we're running a bit out of time, is WrestleMania is coming up, and it was supposed to be happening in a big stadium in Tampa. It's now going to happen in WWE's training facility. If you know WrestleMania, if you're even a casual wrestling fan, even if you're not particularly...
Most people have heard of WrestleMania.
It's the
even if they've never watched it,
wrestling event of the year. Normally happens in a big stadium.
I've never watched it.
A lot of history. And it's going to be happening in a training facility in front of no audience. And it is going to be so weird. It's either going to be... And they've spread it over 2 nights. It's going to be on the Saturday the 4th and Sunday the 5th of April. But it will be... I say that, those are the evenings it'll be in America, so over here it'll be in the early hours of the morning, so you can stay up.
The thing that I'm sort of curious about, though, because, like, one of the things that I struggle with when I watch wrestling is that, like, they've got to do the stage combat that's going to work from all angles because it's done in an arena. But if you're not going to have an audience, then you could go super slick on the fight sequences and have it look absolutely amazing. Are they doing that?
Well, they've said a couple of the matches are kind of going to be filmed almost like short movies.
Nice.
I think there's going to be one that's going to be, they call it a boneyard match. Another one's a Firefly Funhouse match. If you don't know what that is, me either. It's not really been adequately explained, but they're going to be filmed more like movies than wrestling matches. This is either going to be incredible or a car crash.
I think it's going to be really weird.
It is going to be really weird whatever happens.
So we're going to watch it.
And
it's
look, you
going
can
to
either
be so
watch
weird.
it live in the early hours of the morning, or you can just get up and watch it at a sensible time the next day. But
time doesn't matter now to most people.
No, time doesn't matter. We'll probably watch it live. It's going to be great, and we'll sleep all day. But you might be thinking, well, I don't want to pay out for a big pay-per-view or whatever. If you want to subscribe to the WWE Network, you can get that on your PCs, on your smart TVs, on your tablets, your phones, whatever. It's normally $9.99 a month, but they do offer a free trial. I'm not here just a shill for them to try and sell their product, but if you get their 3 months trial, you can get this year's WrestleMania. And if you used to watch wrestling as a child, if you watched it more recently, if you've never watched it, if you haven't, but it's going to be weird this year. It's going to be so weird. It's going to be live entertainment really in front of no audience.
I just saw somebody who didn't know anything about wrestling that just put up a status that was just like, wrestling without an audience is like the weird new age avant garde theatre that we didn't know we needed, but we did. And it's like, I'm so for this. Right, we are running out of time,
Yes.
and there was a whole world of things that I wanted to tell you that we didn't get to again. I think probably because this is the only productive bit of our day, we start to think about things that we need to mention. So tomorrow I am going to be having a little chat with you and you about personal hygiene. No, that's not a dig. But yeah, I just sort of noticed that, like, well, I won't get into it, but I'm going to get into it tomorrow, because I've noticed a few people talking about how personal hygiene habits are changing a little bit dependent on whether they're locked in with people or locked on their own. So we're going to have a little chat about how some people have gone full feral and some people are being better about it than they normally are. So, right, we're over the half-hour mark, and so it doesn't cut me off.
We've got to go.
We got to go.
Right.
So we will see you tomorrow, and we'll try not to clash. So yeah, more on whether or not we're stinky. more on
You're a moron.
tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.